Yo, babies, if you like what's going on, this is Coughing Kabbalah Coffee. This is day 56, and these fucking robots have been taking up my time, but I think it'll be worth it in the future to Israel, so there we go. Alright, folks. No one knows for sure. Elevate, Elo, Divrei, Elohim, Chaim, but this is the Mazorah we live by. Really? Yeah, but do whatever the fuck you want. Zuris, I got 99 Zurisim, but a bitch ain't one. Golas, Jewish diaspora or exile. Chachma, Bina, Da'at, wisdom, understanding, knowledge. Chalaf, knife. Shechita, slaughter. Shochet, slaughter. Bedika, examination of inspection. Chalaf, through instrument of surgical sharpness used to perform shechita. Halacha, the body of Jewish law. Halakha, in accordance with halakha. Kosher, correct, fit, appropriate according to the laws of Judaism. For instance, kosher food. Nevela, an animal that was not slaughtered by a shechita. Rabbi, a Jew trained and ordained for professional or religious leadership and qualified to expound and apply the halakha and other Jewish law. You're looking at him. Shechita, the Jewish religious humane method of slaughtering animals and poultry for food. Shochet, plural shochtim, the person who performs shechita, qualified with a thorough knowledge of Jewish law, animal anatomy, and pathology, and licensed by both religious and civic authorities. Torah, the source of all Jewish teaching and law. Treifa, literally torn. Zar Baal Lechaim, minimizing cruelty to animals. Shochet, that's a slaughterer. Stellen, Chalef, sharpening and polishing of the knives. Bodak is a checker. Gay Kraken off and yam. Like tis dying. Go piss in the ocean. Gotta do this bullshit. May Hashem bless you and guard you. May Hashem shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May Hashem lift his face to you and grant you peace. Akin ani medaber ivrit bekar ivrit mikra eat afshe befal anaknu amurim ledaber Yiddish o ulai armit shegam otan ani yakol ledaber bemida mesu yemet aval ani ma'adif anglik lakin bo nedaber anglik ze nishma tov lecha. All right. By the way, today is 3rd of Adar, 5786. Friday, February 20th. Everybody's favorite pivot. A little bit of a headache. Not exactly sure why. Why? It's a big brain. Nagila Chava, Nagila Chava, Nagila Venismecha Chava, Nagila Chava, Nagila Chava, Nagila Venismecha. Hava nena nena, hava nera nena, hava nera nena, v'nismecha. Hava nera nena, hava nera nena, hava nera nena, v'nismecha. Uru, uru achim, urachim v'nesameach, urachim v'nesameach, urachim v'nesameach. Urachim b'lev sameach, urachim b'lev sameach. Hey, hava, nagila hava, nagila hava, nagila ve'nismecha. Hava, nagila hava, nagila hava, nagila ve'nismecha. Hava nera nena, hava nera nena, hava nera nena ve'nismecha. Hava nera nena, hava nera nena, hava nera nena, ve'nismecha. Urachim, urachim v'nesameach, urachim v'nesameach, urachim v'nesameach, urachim v'nesameach, urachim. All right, folks. That was tight. Now what? Summary in one flow. There's death, soul separates. Gehenna. Said that about 50 times today. Purification, Gan Eden. Initial spiritual reward. Possible reincarnation, spiritual repair. Resurrection. Body plus soul reunited. Olam Haba. Perfected, embodied eternal world. 5 levels. And the soul, Nefesh, action, vitality, Ruach, emotion, Neshama, intellect, Chaya, transcendent life force, Yechida, absolute unity with God. Alright, folks, today we're going to review Merkaba Kabbalah. I got asked a lot about Kabbalah today, but frankly, it is not agreed upon as much as a lot of other doctrines, so I did my best. If you keep wondering at what I'm looking, dog, this will be important in Yisrael in the future, I think. Maybe not. But, dog, if that fucking thing comes up to great Instagram one more fucking time, are you serious? How many fucking times, like, when they make me the chief rabbi of the world, I'm saying to everybody, you cannot give me random ass pop-ups. You can put it in the corner and put a message in there, and I can have like a little red thing, and I can click on it when I want to look at it, but not just rate Instagram. Why? No. Alright, so what are we reviewing today? Some bullshit. Work of the chariot, Maase Merkava.
Number 6, Masa Merva, Marse Merkava, Work of the Chariot. Author anonymous, Merkava mystics, date 3rd, 7th century CE, genre, early Jewish mystical, Heikalot, palaces, literature. What is Masa Merkava? Masa Merkava is one of the earliest surviving texts of Merkava mysticism, Merkava chariot mysticism, centered on the prophetic vision of the divine chariot in Ezekiel 1. It is part of the broader Heikalot, palaces, corpus, and focuses on heavenly ascent, angelic hierarchies, divine throne vision, liturgical hymns, secret names, and adjurations. It is shorter and more liturgical than works like ViralRabbi, greater palaces. Core themes: 1. The ascent through the heavens. The mystic ascends through heavenly palaces, Heikalot, toward the throne of glory, Seha Galot Kavod, the divine presence, Hina. Unlike narrative-heavy texts, Marse Merkava focuses more on the chants and formulas used during ascent. Number 2, angelic hierarchies. The text describes angelic gatekeepers, fiery beings surrounding the throne, secret divine names used to pass barriers. Common angelic classes include seraphim, burning ones, ophanim, wheels, chayut, living creatures. These derive from Ezekiel's vision. The 3, divine names and power. A central feature is the use of mystical names of God, vocalized formulas, repetitive hymn structures. The assumption: correct recitation equals safe ascent, improper use equals danger. And number 4, liturgical structure. Unlike more narrative texts such as Through the Enoch Masse Merkava, is largely hymnic, rhythmic, possibly used in mystical prayer circles. Some scholars believe portions may reflect early Jewish mystical liturgy. Number 3, structure of the text. The text is fragmentary and varies by manuscript, but generally includes 1. Hymns of praise. 2. Angelic glorifications. 3. Descriptions of heavenly realms. 4. Mystical adjurations. 5. Secret divine names. 6. Throne descriptions. It is less structured as a journey narrative compared to ViralRabbi. 4. Relationship to other Merkava texts. Earlier influences: Ezekiel 1, Isaiah 6, Second Temple apocalyptic literature. Related works: ViralRabbi, Heikalot Zutati, 3rd Enoch. Compared to those, Masa Merkava is more liturgical, less narrative dialogue, fewer rabbinic characters, more emphasis on divine praise. V. Theology. 1. God's transcendence. God remains utterly beyond comprehension. Only mediated experience through angels is possible. 2. The throne vision, central imagery, fire, lightning, radiance, angelic praise. The divine is described in exalted anthropomorphic language, but in symbolic form. Number 5, historical significance. One of the earliest strata of Jewish mysticism, bridges apocalyptic literature and later Kabbalah. Kabbalah, receiving tradition, influenced later mystical developments, including the Zohar, Zahal, Radiant. Masefan, why it matters. Mase Merkava shows us early Jewish techniques of mystical ascent, the importance of sacred sound, the power of divine names, the roots of later Kabbalistic cosmology. It is raw, powerful, and less systematized than medieval Kabbalah, closer to experiential mysticism than philosophy. If you'd like, I can next. Compare it directly with ViralRabbi, break down a sample hymn structure, explain the dangers of Merkava ascent in rabbinic literature, or map how this leads into early Kabbalah. Your move, Rabbi.
How the fuck did she know that? Who knows? Man, I'm fucking tired and my eyes hurt. I have a headache. Is Yisrael in the future? I'd love to have you. Ideally, like I think everybody should walk 1.1 kilometers per day, and just like a daily morning walk. Like I think that in Israel, like it should just be allowed. Like just everybody just goes out and walks or runs, but just at least 1.1 kilometers per day, because then you can say I ran kilometers today. I walked kilometers today. Then what? I'm going to help the United States get on a metric system. The meter's going to have to change slightly because there are four 40,000, like 40 meters. No, 40,000, 40 kilometers in a quarter of the world. So, like, the world, Earth is like 160,000 kilometers, but the meter was just slightly miscalculated. But it makes a huge difference when we're talking about like light years and stuff. Also, when you eat Israel, before you take a bite, or just before you eat, not before you take a bite, but everybody should just drink a glass of water before every meal. It will help you not eat as much. And then also every day, every morning, at least the men of Israel, but I think the women should too, do 100 push ups. You'll have pecs like fucking amazing if you start that young. Alright, is that the end of your fucking story? No, dog, we got some Yiddish to review. Oh man, I have a bad headache. So, what do you do when you have a bad headache? I drink water. Usually, that's my body telling me that I'm dehydrated. Can it mean anything else? Yeah. We're gonna check on it. On occasion, it can mean that I have to throw up. Why? I don't know. But, like, it happened on the stream. Though my fucking Instagram crashed when I did it. One time I made an entire meal out of beef jerky, and my stomach did not like that. It was too much processed food. All kosher, but really, yeah, and I fucking got a headache and threw up. All right, anything else? Yiddish, baby. All right, so Amakai, something so. Pleasurable that it could bring back the dead. Even that's what Rabbiton says after we stop. Halavai. I wish that's what she says before we stop. Yiddish cup. Jewish head. Yented's common fetish of mine. It's a talkative bitch. Talkless brass tacks. Nosh means snack. National puss. Bashert, soulmate, Basherta, female soulmate, Basherta, male soulmate. Mishmash, it's a mixture. Bupkis means nothing. Or beans. Good Yontiv, happy holiday. L'chaim, to life. Parb, neutral. Glad kosher. Smooth. Mensch, it's a good dude. I think mensch should be a thing. Could be Eshat Chayil. Could be Sedakas Froy. Could be Gittel. Skoyak, Yasher Koach. And that is may your strength be directed forward. It comes from Yasher Kokaka. Oiveo fuck. Scheidel. Or Stettel, that's a town. Shadel, that's a wig. Streimel, that's a hat. Milkig. Dairy, flesh, egg, meat. Herb, neutral. Hamish, Hamish. That's homie. Schmata, rags. Figure. Mother-in-law, my fucking head. Chazir is pig. Chazer is to repeat. Schlep, to carry a burden. Meshuggah, wild and crazy. Gonna thief. Yarmulka, Some people say it Malcha, um, um, Yam Melech. Yeah, Melech could be like out of respect for the king. Treif, Torn, Yortzeit, annual day, death, death anniversary. Klutz means clumsy. Needlelock, that's um, matzo ball. Schwitz, Schwitz is big. Schwitz also spelled Schwitz to sweat. That's like a sign here. Schwitz to perspire. Schwitz to be nervous. Der Schwitz to persevere. Schwitz, a steam bath where people sweat. Schwitzer, a big shot who can afford to sit in a schwitz and shoot the breeze with fellow schwitzers. Let's schwitz this out together. In its most basic language, schwitz simply refers to sweating, so a person may say, on Yom Kippur, synagogue was so stuffy I was schwitzing buckets. Note that the actual product of schwitzing is always referred to as schweiz, not schwitz. Now, in the synagogue, the cantor, who has been preparing for his big day since midsummer, is schwitzing for a different reason. Besides the jitters associated with performing before a large crowd, he's schwitzing because he understands the awesome responsibility. Wow, the amazing responsibility. Also forgot. Amazing responsibility of representing the community before God on this holiest day of the year. But the truth is that our friend with schwitzy palms has nothing to worry about. Note that schwitzy is an English adaptation. When when quitting is not an option and he knows that he cannot do that, the only other path is durchschwitzen, sweating it through. Before Yom Kippur, along with many other Jews, the cantor who would prefer that you use the Hebrew term chazan. Yeah, I hate the term cantor, it's chazan. Immersed in a mikveh, a purifying pool of water, he chose to go to the best mikveh in town. In addition to offering the patrons fluffy, oversized towels, they also offer separate schwitz, also called the schwitzbad, a steam bath. So our cantor found himself sitting with all the schwitzers, the high rollers of the local community. As they sat and schwitzed in the steamy haze, they discussed how much they looked forward to Yom Kippur and how confident they were that the Chazan would do a great job on Yom Kippur. With the edifying memory in mind and no other option but success in front of him, he approached the lectern, wiped the schweiz from his forehead, and began to sing. Why people enjoy the schwitz. If the pain of enduring stifling heat were not enough, the authentic old-time schwitz experience would include getting whacked on the back by a bath attendant wielding a bundle of leafy branches called a besom broom. In the summer of 1948, the late Rabbi Shalom B. Gordon was about to accept his first pulpit position in Newark, New Jersey, a city with a large Jewish population. At the time, the young rabbi was unsure of how to proceed as a committed chassid. He wished to urge his flock to increase their observance and connection to traditional Yiddishkeit. On the other hand, he did not want to alienate anyone. The sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzhak Schneerson of righteous memory, guided him as follows. Have you ever been to Auschwitz? Asked the rabbi. How does it work there? Yes, my father took me many times, answered the young man who had spent his early years in this old country. Everyone sits and schwitzes. There are various levels, and the higher you go, the more intense the heat. There is also an attendant who massages people with the besom during their time at the schwitz. Now, now, what were to happen? Asked his Rebbe. If a fellow were to walk over to someone on the sidewalk and start massaging him with a besom, how would one react to that? Would he not hit him back? However, continued the Rebbe, if you first elevate them and warm them up, with the words of inspiration in Torah. When you later make use of the besom, they don't get mad. On the contrary, they come back and ask for more. Another Schwitz-related Hasidic tale. As was the habit, Rabbi Shmuel of Lubavitch, 1832 to 1882, was receiving those who lined up to seek his counsel on all matters, material, spiritual, emotional, and more. Scarcely an hour had passed since the audiences had begun, and already the Rebbe had exhausted. The Rebbe was exhausted. He called the break and asked for a fresh change of clothes. Master of the universe, muttered the secretary, why does he exert himself so? Every hour he needs a new change of clothes. Why does the Rebbe schwitz so much? Hearing that his aide did not appreciate the work that he was doing, the Rebbe told him that he would be paid, but his services were no longer needed. Don't you understand? In the past hour, 20 people have come to see me. Each of them poured out his neshama soul to me and asked for my assistance in curing it of its ills. To relate to each one's personal dilemma, I have to see it through their eyes. So I must divest myself of my own personality and circumstances and clothe myself in theirs. Then, in order to answer them, I must reassume my own persona. Otherwise, why would they come to consult with me? Did you ever attempt to change your clothes 40 times in an hour? Did you ever attempt to change your clothes 40 times an hour? If such physical dressing and undressing would exhaust you and make you schwitz, can you imagine what it involves to do so in the mental? Can you imagine what it involves to do so in the mental, emotional, and spiritual sense? Yo, big dog, please come back in 33 minutes.
Okay.
Solid. All right. So that's schwitz. When did you have to schwitz the most? Um, I won't get into that, but this one time I took this medication. Is it medication? Yeah, it's like it's something. It makes you sweat like unbelievably badly, extremely badly. Really, yeah. And I can also remember this one time I was running like a lot, like long periods of time, long distances, and I would shower and put on deodorant and things like that, and I would go into a very professional place and I was sweating. Oh, I know too. When I first moved into this community, I was so nervous. I would sweat through my suits like fucking what? It's unbelievable. Really, yeah. So I've schwitzed. All right, friends. There was a video I wanted to see. How to inspire a generation. My encounter with the Rebbe.
An excerpt from a televised Farbrengen, 1981. Welcome to an evening with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. If you joined us for our telecast worldwide of the Farbrengen a month or so ago, then you know what this is all about. If not, then you're entitled to ask, what is a Farbrengen? What is Yud Shvat? Who is the Lubavitcher Rebbe? Well, I couldn't have better help on this mission. I've got two native guides who will make everything absolutely clear for everybody, whether you are a lifelong devotee of the Lubavitcher Rebbe or whether you just happened upon this telecast by chance. From Maplewood, New Jersey, the spiritual leader of the Ahavat Zion congregation, Rabbi Sholem Bayer Gordon, very prominent in Jewish education, Lubavitcher education, Chabad, the outreach movement. Rabbi Gordon, let's suppose that everybody viewing knows absolutely nothing about a Farbrengen. How would you start explaining? I believe that the concept of a Farbrengen can be best described by an encounter that I had with the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, whose memory we are honoring tonight, in the summer of 1948, when I was about to accept my first pulpit. And I asked him, I find myself in a certain dilemma. On one hand, the rabbi has to guide, correct, chastise. On one hand, I am told that you alienate people that way and you will be left without a congregation. What is the answer? And the Rebbe said to me, were you ever in a steam bath, a Russian bath as it's called? I said, yes, I went many times with my late father. And he said to me, did you notice what they do? I said, yes, they ascend on steps with the heat. The steam is hotter and hotter. And then they are massaged with a besim, some kind of combination of leaves and so on. Then the Rebbe said to me, can you picture yourself going on a street and someone running over to you or to anyone else with this besim and beginning to massage them? What would be their reaction? Don't you think they would hit the person back? I said, yes. However, he said, you see, if you first elevate them and warm them up, and then you massage them, bet menoch, they ask for more. The Rebbe, on the day of his coming, emphasized that his main message is America is nicht anders. America is no different than other continents or countries in the obligations of a Jew to his God, to his Torah, and to his people.
Cool, dog. We just read that fucking shit. Dog, I've got a headache. And my robots aren't working the way that I want. But when they do, Israel, you're gonna shit yourselves. Shout out to these people who sponsored this. Are you fucking serious? Michael. And does that say Ricky? Ricky Zabriskie. Ricky Lake. Alright. Is that it? Man, I have a throbbing headache. And it makes me really tired. You can tell I'm not like my normal self. We gotta watch the fucking DIY babies.
I will say good morning, good morning. Let us begin.
Kiddush.
Kiddush is the way we proclaim the special sanctity of the Sabbath day. Sabbath reminds us, firstly, of creation, secondly, of liberation from the slavery of Egypt, and today, from the slavery of work, and thirdly, Kiddush proclaims the special beauty and sanctity of the day that is to come. Upon returning home from the synagogue, the family sings Shalom Aleichem and Eshet Chayil. Kiddush is recited standing. We fill a cup to overflowing with kosher wine or grape juice. The cup is taken in the right hand, passed to the left hand, and lowered into the palm of the right hand. The cup should be held like this. Before commencing, one glances at the candles, and then the Kiddush is started by saying the following. Vayecholu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzva'am, vayechal Elohim b'yom hashvi, malachta asher asa, vayishbais b'yom hashvi, mikol malachta asher asa, vayevarech Elohim es yom hashvi, vayikadesh isai, ki vayshavas mikol malachtai, asher bara Elohim la'asais, sabri maranon, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Bayre pri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav, v'rodot tzavanu, v'shabas kadashai, v'yahava v'rodot zayin chilanu, zikarein l'maaseh bereshis, tchila l'mikroi kodesh, zecher l'tzias Misrayim, kibanu v'charta v'asana kiddashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabas kadashecha, v'yahava v'rodot zayin chaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbos. Amen. After Kiddush, one sits and drinks some of the wine. And then more wine is added to the cup to be distributed to those present. And that is Kiddush.
Really? Yeah. Have you ever used one? Yeah. What do you call it? Kiddush distributor? Kiddush octopus. Alright. Dog, I'm so tired. Or I have such a headache. Alright, now what? Let's go with the questions we were asked. Yo, dog, you were really great with the thoroughness of our review of the afterlife yesterday. Let's do the same for the idea of demonic possession and
Jewish New Year doesn't mean that we as residents and as members of humanity cannot tap into the wave of newness that
how it was historically and how it's handled now.
We have a new Mishnah, and the Sachas Zvachim. What are the chances that on the new year, a new Mishnah, and by the way, let's say, all kidding aside, a new Mishnah on the very top of Amud Aleph, right? That's unique. Not like a new Mishnah in the middle of the page. New Mishnah top of Amud Aleph. And I will say, this is a Baruch giving us another one of these kisses. If you want to be someone different, right? Because a lot of us have midos that are not good, but we've been living with them for years. I could change it. A lot of us have behaviors that are less than optimal, holding me back. I can change it. A lot of us have many elements of our lives that just are mediocre at best. And if I want, I could change it. January 1st, 2026 is a new year. This has Zvachim Daf Kuf has 109, has a Mishnah on top, a new Ischadshus. And I will say, sorry, Pastor Daf Yomi. Zvachim has not been an easy run. It's been fantastic. I think we're best in Safta ever. But it has not been. I heard some rumblings, bordering on complaints, shtickle on curses even, right? But you know, and again, let's say, you know what? Get it together. We're nearing the end of the Sechas Svach. Get it together.
Oh man,
time for us to get this. Let's finish the Masechta strong.
All right, let's do this properly. Thorough, historical, and halachically grounded. All right, let's do this properly. Thorough, historical, and halachically grounded. We'll break it down into one Tanakh. All right, let's do this properly. Thorough, historical, and halachically grounded. We'll break it down into one Tanakh, Hebrew Bible. All right, let's do this properly. Thorough, historical, and halachically grounded. All right, let's do this properly. Thorough, historical, and halachically grounded. We'll break it down into one Tanakh. All right, let's do
What
this
the
properly.
fuck?
Thorough, historical, and halachic. All right, let's do this properly. Thorough, historical, and halachically grounded. We'll break it down into Tanakh, Bible, 2, Second Temple literature, 3, Talmudic period, 4, medieval period, especially Ashkenaz and Kabbalah, 5, the Dybbuk phenomenon, 6, Hasidic era, 7, modern orthodoxy, 8, contemporary rabbinic handling. Tanakapo. Important, there is no clear case of demonic possession in the Torah. 5 books of Moses. The closest example, King Saul and the evil spirit. In Book of Samuel, Saul is afflicted by a, open quote, Ruach Ra'amet Hashem, an evil spirit from God, close quote. Key points, it comes from God, it causes emotional torment. David plays music to soothe him. This is not described as a demon inhabiting Saul. It is more like divine affliction, psychological torment, or prophetic error, spiritual disturbance. There is no exorcism ritual in Tanakh. Second Temple literature. Now things expand dramatically. In apocalyptic texts like First Enoch, Book of Jubilees, we get fallen angels watchers, hybrid giants, Nephilim, evil spirits that roam the earth after the giants die, spirits that afflict humans. Here we see the first developed Jewish demonology. These spirits cause illness, lead people astray, can influence behavior. Still, no standardized exorcism ritual like later Christianity. Talmudic period, Talmud. The Bavli, Babylonian Talmud, assumes the existence of shedim, demons, ruach ra, harmful spirit, Lilith traditions. Examples appear in Babylonian Talmud. Important demons in the Talmud are real but not central, more environmental spiritual hazards, not usually possession. In the Christian sense, there are references to protective amulet incantations, divine names, avoiding dangerous places, but still no systematic exorcism rite. Medieval period, explosion of demonology. Now we move to Ashkenaz and Kabbalah, key turning point. Zohar, the Zohar expands, Sitra Akra, Kelipot, Kalip husk shells, demonic forces feeding off sin, spiritual attachment due to wrongdoing. Now we begin to see something closer to possession. The Dybbuk, attachment. This is the classic Jewish possession case. Definition, a Dybbuk is a dislocated human soul that attaches itself to a living person, not a demon, a dead human soul. Why? Unfinished business, severe sin, improper burial, cosmic imbalance. Major source tradition, Lurianic Kabbalah of Isaac Luria, the Ari. In Lurianic thought, souls reincarnate, Gilgul. Souls can attach to repair themselves. Possession may be part of cosmic rectification. How Dybbuk exorcisms were done, 16th to 18th centuries, documented in Safat, Poland, Germany. Typical procedure, 1, Beit Din, rabbinical court, 2, fasting, 3, blowing shofar, 4, psalm recitation, 5, banishing formula, 6, sometimes invoking divine names, 7, threatening the Dybbuk with judgment. Often the possessing soul would speak through the person, confess sins, demand rectification. Famous cultural example, the Dybbuk by S. Ansky. Hasidic era, 18th to 19th century. In early Hasidut, possession narratives increase. Tzaddikim, righteous leaders, cast out Dybbuks. However, many Hasidic masters reframed it as psychological suffering, spiritual blockage, trauma manifested spiritually. Some tzaddikim refused to do dramatic exorcisms. Modern Orthodox Judaism. Now things change dramatically. Today, most Orthodox rabbis do not assume possession, refer to psychiatric evaluation first, treat most cases as mental health. There is no official exorcism rite in Shulchan Aruch, Code of Jewish Law. That is important. The halachic mainstream does not institutionalize possession. Contemporary handling. What happens today? Step 1, mental health referral. Step 2, if culturally appropriate, Tehillim, Psalms, mezuzah check, increased mitzvot, tzedakah, charity. Step 3, in extremely rare cases, some Kabbalistic rabbis still perform Dybbuk expulsion rituals, but this is rare, not normative, not publicized. Major differences between Jewish and Christian possession. Christianity, usually a human soul, usually a demon. No central exorcism rite, formal exorcism ritual. Not doctrinally central, theologically central. Often tied to Gilgul, not tied to reincarnation. Theological evolution summary. Torah, no possession doctrine. Second Temple, evil spirits exist. Talmud, demons acknowledged, not central. Kabbalah, full demonology and debug system. Modern Orthodoxy, psychological first approach. Final big picture Judaism never made demonic possession a pillar of theology. It exists, it is acknowledged, but it was never central. Most classical rabbinic Judaism focuses on Yetzer Hara, evil inclination, personal responsibility, teshuva, repentance, not demon blaming. If you want next, we can go deeper into specific recorded debug cases in Safed, whether Rambam believed in demons, whether possession is compatible with modern psychiatry, or the halachic risks of attempting exorcism. Your call, Rabbi.
The Apostle says, what is their liability? If you did not bring it to the entranceway of Oral Moed. Meaning what? Anything that is supposed to be brought to Pesach or Moed, anything that is supposed to be brought to the entranceway of the Beis Hamikdash, anything that's supposed to be brought to the Beis Hamikdash, and you do it outside, ultimately again there's liability. So let's say, this is a very, very, very important subject. Because remember again, what the psukim indicate to me is if you brought an Ola outside, and then again, I want to speak about the bringing, as you saw in the previous Mishnah, or two previous Mishnahs ago.
Have you ever known anybody to be possessed? No. Fortunately, all the people with whom I had connections were all really mentally stable. But as I've been more and more on the internet, I've encountered some weird people.
Let's go deeper and sharper. Good. Let's go deeper and sharper. We'll cover 4 major expansions. 1. Did Rambam, Maimonides, believe in demons? 2. Documented debug cases, Safed and Poland. 3. Halachic risks of exorcism. 4. Compatibility with psychiatry today. Did Maimonides believe in demons? This is one of the biggest fault lines in Jewish thought. Rambam's position in Guide for the Perplexed, Mishneh Torah Rambam, rejects magic as real power, calls amulets nonsense unless medically proven, treats astrology as false, does not affirm literal demons. Many scholars conclude Rambam understood Sedim, demons metaphorically, or as psychological medical phenomena, or as
Come
ancient
back
cultural
in
language.
20
He never
minutes if you can.
codifies demon avoidance law in Mishneh Torah. That's telling. Contrast. Ramban, Nachmanides strongly affirms demons exist, sorcery works, spiritual forces are real. This split, Rambam versus Ramban, becomes the philosophical divide that echoes into modern times. Documented debug cases. Now we enter early modern Europe. Safed, 16th century. Under the influence of Isaac Luria, reports describe souls speaking through afflicted individuals, demanding rectification, naming past life sins, requesting burial corrections. These accounts appear in disciples' writings. The 17th century Poland case, the most famous historical debug account occurred in 1648 to 49, Polish-Lithuanian region. A young woman allegedly possessed by the spirit of a dead man. Rabbis convened, fasted, blew shofar, recited psalms, conducted banishment formulas. The possessing voice reportedly identified itself, confessed sins, left dramatically. These accounts were recorded in rabbinic responsa literature. Important, these were treated seriously, not theatrically. Halachic risks of performing exorcism. This is crucial. Potential issues. 1. Sorcery concerns. Shpim Kishuf. Torah prohibits engaging in magical practices if exorcism involves manipulating spirits, invoking names improperly, ritual coercion. It could border on forbidden practices. 2. Psychological harm. If the individual is mentally ill, is suggestible, is unstable. Exorcism can reinforce delusion, increase dissociation, cause trauma. Modern poskim, halachic decisors, are extremely cautious. 3. Chilul Hashem, desecration of God's name. Public spectacle gone wrong cause massive scandal. Therefore, most mainstream Orthodox rabbis do not perform dramatic rituals. Psychiatry and possession. Modern Orthodox consensus. Step 1, rule out mental illness. Step 2, therapy. Step 3, only if culturally meaningful, adds spiritual reinforcement. Conditions historically labeled possession often match dissociative disorders, psychosis, trauma response, severe depression, epilepsy in earlier eras. Judaism today generally does not oppose psychiatric treatment. Important distinction. Demon versus Dibuk. Demon shed. Dibuk, attachment, dimantont. Non-human entity, human soul. More Talmudic, more Kabbalistic. Environmental threat. Moral afterlife issue, rarely possess, specifically attach. The big historical art, Tanakh, divine affliction, not possession. Second Temple, evil spirits theology develops. Talmud, demons acknowledged but secondary. Lurianic Kabbalah, structured soul possession model. Early modern Europe, Dibuk exorcisms documented. Modern Orthodoxy, psychiatry first, mysticism rarely. Theological bottom line, Judaism does not center evil on an external demon. Core belief remains, Yetzer hara, Yetzer hara, evil inclination, free will, teshuvah, repentance. Possession is peripheral, never foundational. If you want, next we can explore, does the Zohar describe actual possession mechanics? Can a righteous person be possessed? Are there cases in Sephardic tradition? Or how Chabad Lubavitch handles it today? Pick your lane.
We were going to review it on the Chabad website, but this is a good thing to review too. Man,
Incredible. Let's go back to how about the Jackson Elmo? Thanks once you remember again, how did the Mishnah end? It's actually very interesting. So the Mishnah said that if you burnt a half a kizayis of ola and wood, which means that if you went ahead and you burnt a half a kizayis, ultimately again of ola meat, right? Of ola meat and sacrificial parts of ola. Now again, this might sound a little bit
excellent. Let's go into the deeper mechanics now. We'll cover 1. Does the Zohar describe actual possession? Excellent. Let's go into the deeper mechanics now. We'll cover 1. Does the Zohar describe actual possession mechanics? 2. Can a righteous person be possessed? 3. Sephardic tradition. Excellent. Let's go into the deeper mechanics now. We'll cover 1. Does the Zohar describe actual possession mechanics? 2. Can a righteous person be possessed? 3. Sephardic tradition versus Ashkenazic tradition. 4. How Chabad Lubavitch handles this today. Does the Zohar describe how possession? Yes, but not like horror movies. The Zohar teaches sin creates spiritual openings. Klipot, husk shells, cling to impurity. A soul out of place seeks rectification. Tikkun. Possession is described as, open quote, ruach mitdabeket, an attaching spirit, close quote. Mechanism according to Kabbalistic structure. A. Spiritual damage. Serious transgression creates imbalance. B. Spiritual vulnerability. The person's spiritual defenses weaken. C. Attachment. A wandering soul or negative force attaches to exploit or repair that opening. But crucially, this is not random demonic invasion. It is moral, cosmic, structured. The system is ethical, not chaotic. Can a righteous person be possessed? Classical answer, almost never. Kabbalistic literature states, a fully righteous person, tzaddik, has sealed spiritual structure, strong protective aura, constant divine attachment. However, there is a separate concept called, open quote, ibul, soul impregnation, close quote. This is positive attachment. In Lurianic Kabbalah, a righteous soul may temporarily join a living person to assist them spiritually. So, negative, positive, dibuk, ibor, due to sin, due to merit, causes suffering, causes elevation. So yes, righteous people may experience ibur, but not destructive possession. Sephardic versus Ashkenazic tradition. Important distinction. Ashkenaz, Eastern Europe, more recorded dibuk cases, more dramatic expulsion rituals, strong cultural narratives. Influenced heavily by Lurianic Kabbalah spreading north, Sephardic world. In places like Morocco, Iraq, Yemen, belief in spirits existed, but less dramatic public exorcism culture, more focus on protective amulets, more integration into folk healing. Among Sephardic poskim, halakhic decisors, there is often greater comfort with spiritual realities, but less theatrical ritualism. How Chabad handles this today. Chabad Lubavitch does not run exorcism services. The Rebbe Menachem Mendel Schneerson When approached with alleged possession cases, he typically advised medical evaluation first, psychological consultation, strengthening mitzvot, checking mezuzot, increased Torah study, charity. Shabbat theology strongly emphasizes the Yetzer Hara, Yetzer Hara, evil inclination, psychological struggle, divine soul versus animal soul, not demon externalization. In practice, Shabbat discourages obsession with demons. Modern rabbinic consensus cross orthodoxy. Possession today is considered extremely rare, possibly misunderstood mental illness, not to be assumed without evaluation. There is no mainstream yeshiva training in exorcism. That's very telling. The big meta point Judaism historically allowed for demons, attaching souls, spiritual affliction, but it never built a theology of evil around them. Christianity builds demonology into core doctrine. Judaism builds morality into the human heart. That's a huge difference. If you want to go even deeper, we can explore how Gilgul, reincarnation, makes Dybbuk logically coherent, whether possession can occur in non-Jews according to Kabbalah, whether Rambam's rationalism won historically, or specific responsa where rabbis ruled cases as not possession. Where do you want to drill next?
So again, first of all, the rights exclusively, the Mishnah says, when it comes to Hegel, all parts of the carbon combine, and when it comes to Nosa, all parts of the carbon combine. So what's this understand, right? In other words, you're only highly for Hegel. When we're going to say, what's Hegel? Little Chazal, what's Hegel? Hegel, right? Hegel is a mindset, right? Hegel is when I'm doing some type of one of the abodas of the carbon I have in mind to eat it outside of the limited time. So for example, when it comes to Hegel, you have in mind to eat.
Beautiful. Let's drill into the deeper layers. We'll cover how Gilgul reincarnation makes book logically coherent. Can non-Jews be possessed according to Kabbalah? Did Rambam's rationalism win historically? Responsa where rabbis ruled not possession. Gilgul, reincarnation as the framework. The full system develops in the teachings of Isaac Luria, the Ari. Primary text transmitting it, Shah HaGilgulim, Gate of Reincarnations, recorded by his student Chaim Vital. Core idea, souls are not static. They may reincarnate, Gilgul, attach temporarily, Ibul, attach dysfunctionally. In Lurianic metaphysics, if a soul failed its mission, committed severe sin, was improperly buried, died suddenly, it may remain spiritually unsettled. Attachment becomes a forced tikkun, rectification. So Dybbuk is not random horror. It is cosmic repair through improper channel. Without Gilgul, Dybbuk theology collapses. Can non-Jews be possessed? Kabbalistic literature discusses this carefully. The Ari system differentiates Jewish souls, higher covenantal structure, nation souls, different spiritual root. However, Kabbalah does affirm that all humans have souls. All humans can experience spiritual disturbance. Some later Kabbalists held that Dybbuk phenomena were more common in Jewish communities because the system of mitzvot creates structured spiritual circuitry. Failure within covenant carries metaphysical consequences. However, Sephardic mystical traditions often accepted spirit affliction among non-Jews as well. So mainstream answer, yes, in theory. But classical Dybbuk literature focuses overwhelmingly on Jews. Did Rambam's rationalism win? Maimonides versus Nachmanides is the tectonic plate shift. In Halacha, Rambam largely won. Mainstream orthodoxy does not legislate demon avoidance, does not institutionalize exorcism, does not require belief in shadim, demons. In Kabbalah, Rambam's worldview survived strongly. Texts like Zohar and later Hasidic works assume real spiritual forces. In modern orthodoxy, Rambam dominates intellectually. Even communities that believe in spiritual realities rarely operationalize demonology. So historically, philosophically mixed. Practically, Rambam won responsa, where rabbis ruled not possession. By the 19th, 20th century, rabbis increasingly redirected cases. In Lithuanian yeshiva circles, reports of possession were often dismissed as melancholia, nervous disorders, hysteria, psychological distress. Some rabbanim explicitly wrote, do not attribute to Dybbuk what is illness. In the 20th century, major poskim instructed first see doctors, then therapists. Only afterward consider spiritual reinforcement. There is no teshuva responsum in major modern halachic codes mandating exorcism protocol. That absence is powerful. A deeper theological question. If possession exists, why is it not central? Because Judaism's core anthropology is human beings are responsible. The Yetzer Hara Tzelara, evil inclination, is internal. Teshuva tshuva, repentance, fixes the damage. Externalizing evil weakens accountability. That is why possession remains marginal. The hidden meta tension. There are two streams in Judaism: mystical Judaism, cosmic structure, soul architecture, metaphysical attachment; rational Judaism, psychology, ethics, medical realism. Modern orthodoxy lives in the tension between them. If you want, next we can explore, are Dibuk stories increasing or decreasing in modern Israel? What would halacha require if possession were proven real? Can a Dibuk testify in Beit Din? Or the relationship between trauma and mystical language? Pick the next doorway.
Meat and sacrificial parts will combine. By Shlomo, meat and sacrificial parts will not combine. Fascinating. Fascinating. So the Gemara says, no, sir, don't me again. Not going to picture my nose, son. And the notes are, can be so through actual Mizrach Hadam. General says also very interesting. A bit more technical for just the moment. Right? Furthermore, again, the notes is also not a question, also not a contradiction. One is talking about an actual, well, let's see Rashi. Look at Rashi. Rashi's in the wide lines, 5 lines in. Can the notes are coming, so actually, Mizrach Hadam is to this. How did can it be stacking? When do we say that ultimately again all forms of nosar combined? That's the ochel nosar cover. That's what it's talking about, actual consumption of nosar. You have nosar meat in front of you, whether it's nosar of sacrificial meat, nosar sacrificial parts, everything that combines. On this right practice, how do you find all the in Shlomo? And when do we say ultimately? I'm sorry, how do you find this happening? But ochel nosar cover. How do you find all the in Shlomo? And when do we say that nosar only applies to all the not the Shlomo? The Shemisosru may equal to straight up. He don't have to have also that word according to this is the very specific case. What happened when the sacrifice was destroyed before Zrika? The Nishtayer, Katz is Dais Mizer, the Katzi Dais Mizer. In order for such a very exciting, in order for Zrika to be valid, there has to be at least a desires of sacrificial matter left over. Well, let's see, on occasion, you check for the carbon, we did everything, but before we go with the arrow, the carbon was accidentally incinerated. Like somebody wasn't paying attention on the job, they put it on his bed. Right? Or it was accidentally thrown out. Like it's accidentally destroyed. If there's no sacrificial matter left at the time of Zrika, the carbon is established. You need at least a desires of the carbon actually left over, actually existent at the time of this reason. So watch this. What happens in Halakha L'Maisa? You have a half a desires of sacrificial meat and a half a desires of sacrificial parts. Do they combine to form the requisite desires ultimately necessary in order to allow this reason? And what's the answer? It depends. What does it depend on? It depends on the type of carbon.
Love it. Let's open the next doorways carefully and rigorously. We'll cover, are Dibuk cases increasing or decreasing in modern Israel? If possession were proven real, what would halacha require? Can a Dibuk testify in Beit Din, Beit rabbinical court? Trauma versus mystical language, are they overlapping categories? Dibuk reports in modern Israel. Short answer, they are extremely rare and decreasing in mainstream rabbinic circles. In early 20th century Jerusalem, some Kabbalistic figures in the old Yishuv claimed to deal with spirit attachment cases. But in contemporary Israel, major yeshivot do not train exorcists. Rabbinical courts do not have possession protocols. Psychiatric referral is standard practice. Among certain folk or fringe mystical circles, stories occasionally surface, especially in communities influenced by practical Kabbalah. But mainstream religious Zionist and Lithuanian Litvish communities treat possession claims as psychological trauma-related or culturally framed distress. So historically, belief persists. Practically, operational decline. If possession were proven real, what would halacha require? This is a fascinating theoretical exercise. Halacha, Jewish law, would have to determine A, agency. Is the possessed person halachically responsible? If the person lacks legal mental capacity, they may be treated like a shooter, legally incompetent individual, meaning they are not liable for actions committed during lack of control. B. Harm caused during possession. If someone injures another while possessed, halachic analysis would examine intent, kavanah, awareness, control. Jewish law already has categories for coercion, ons, mental incapacity, so no new system is required. C. Exorcism legality. Any ritual would need to avoid kishuf, fafim, forbidden sorcery, necromancy, doresh elamatim, seeking the dead, superstitious practice, which means it could only involve tehillim, psalms, prayer, fasting, mitzvah strengthening. Anything manipulative or magical would be halachically suspect. So halacha is structurally cautious. Can a dibuk testify in Beit Din? Classic Lomdus question. Let's go. Jewish law requires a human witness of sound mind acting voluntarily. If a possessing voice speaks through someone, is that the host, the attached soul, a hallucination? Halachically, testimony requires two valid kosher witnesses. A disembodied soul cannot testify, even if real, because halacha governs embodied, accountable humans. So the answer is almost certainly no. Even if possession were accepted, it would not create evidentiary standing. Trauma and mystical language. This is where things get subtle. In pre-modern societies, there was no psychiatric vocabulary. Experiences of dissociation, trauma flashbacks, conversion disorder, severe depression, psychosis were interpreted through available frameworks. In 17th century Poland, a woman speaking in a different voice equals dibuk. In 21st century Tel Aviv, same presentation equals dissociative disorder. The experience may be real, the interpretation shifts. Important, Kabbalah does not deny psychical reality. In fact, Hasidic masters often reframe dibuk-like cases as soul pain, emotional blockage, spiritual despair. The mystical language sometimes encoded psychological distress. The deeper question, does demonic language externalize guilt or provide symbolic healing? Historically, possession narratives often allowed public confession, moral repair, communal catharsis. They functioned socially, which may explain why they flourished in times of upheaval in post-1648 massacres in Eastern Europe. The big synthesis. Judaism allows for metaphysical disturbance, but its legal system is built for human responsibility, mental capacity, observable reality. That's why demonology never took over halacha. The law stayed grounded. We can go even further into the psychology of Iber, positive soul attachment, why possession cases often involved young women historically, whether modelists privately still perform rituals, or whether AI could theoretically be possessed in Kabbalistic terms. Your move, Rabbi.
Outside of the base of how much Kabbalic material do you need? How much Kabbalic material do you need? Akizayis. What did the Mishnah say? If by all a half a kizayis of meat and a half a kizayis of a word called sacrificial parts will combine. And this is now looks like so it's the same thing. We see these things, so by Allah, because the entirety of the carbon is treated with the same process, i.e. all birds under his day, therefore the different parts can combine to form the sheer desire. So therefore, if you burn a half of desires of sacrificial meat and a half of desires of sacrificial parts of all of them, you are tired or shooting to your hands up on the outside. Same idea where the Gemara says, that I lost on the right side. If let's say again you open up a carbon, and unfortunately again the carbon was inadvertently destroyed. If you have, so Rabbi Rothschild says, as long as you have either a half a desires of meat or a half a desires of kala, you're good to go. If you have something, right? If you have a desires of meat or desires of kala, you are good to go. What about if you have a half a desires of meat and a half a desires of kala? No, they don't combine. Except in one case, hold on.
Some of California's most
So
accurate
by
traffic
all
reports,
if you accidentally destroy the carbon over, but you have left over a half a kizayis of meat and half a kizayis of
All right, now we're going into the really interesting layers. We'll cover why dibuk cases historically involved young women, the psychology of Iber, taboo, positive soul attachment. Do modern Kabbalists still quietly perform rituals? Could something non-human, like AI, be possessed in Kabbalistic terms? Why were most debug cases young women? Historically documented debug cases, 16th, 18th century Ashkenaz, overwhelmingly involved adolescent or newly married women, pre-wedding crises, sudden behavioral changes. This appears in the folklore background that later inspired the debug. There are several layered explanations. Social structure. In early modern Europe, women had minimal autonomy, marriages were arranged, emotional distress had limited outlets. Possession narratives created a socially acceptable voice, a way to protest marriage, a mechanism to reveal hidden trauma. The spirit often confessed forbidden love, broken vows, or injustice. It functioned as a safe rupture in rigid systems. Psychological expression. Modern analysis suggests dissociative states, trauma reactions, conversion disorders were culturally interpreted as debug. In societies without psychiatric language, mystical language filled the gap. C. Kabbalistic explanation in Lurianic cosmology. C. Shah Hagilgulim. Souls reincarnate to repair specific areas. Some Kabbalists believed souls of men who died unmarried might attach to women near marriage age to complete unfinished rectification. That's not modern thinking, but it was internally coherent within that metaphysical system. The psychology of Ibur, positive soul attachment. Ibur is the opposite of dibuk. Instead of a distressed soul attaching due to sin, a righteous soul temporarily joins a living person to elevate them. In Hasidic language, a person suddenly experiences spiritual expansion, insight beyond their level, strength they didn't have before. This was sometimes described as Ibur. Psychologically, it maps interestingly onto peak experiences, sudden moral transformation, post-traumatic growth, mystical awakening. Unlike Dibuk, Ibur does not override agency, does not cause distress, enhances clarity. It is more metaphorical in many later Hasidic teachings. Do modern Kabbalists still perform rituals? Quiet answer, yes, but extremely rarely and privately. In certain circles in Jerusalem, Bnei Brak, and some Sephardic mystical communities, there are rabbis known to deal with Ruach Ra, harmful spirit cases. But the pattern is consistent. 1, medical evaluation first. 2, no public spectacle. 3, no dramatic coercion rituals. 4, mostly Tehillim, Psalms, fasting and mitzvah strengthening. There is no institutionalized exorcist office, and major halachic authorities discourage sensationalism. Could AI be possessed in Kabbalistic terms? Now we're going metaphysical. In Kabbalah, only beings with a nefesh, animating soul, can be spiritually attached. Animals have nefesh, humans have nefesh, ruach, and neshama. A machine has none. Therefore, in classical Kabbalah, an AI system could not be possessed because there is no spiritual vessel. However, symbolically, if possession means external force overriding agency, then AI is always possessed by its programming and inputs, but not spiritually. Kabbalah requires a divine life force substrate. Technology doesn't qualify. The deeper meta-observation possession stories historically functioned as moral drama, social correction, trauma language, theological storytelling. Modern Judaism did not formally erase them. It simply relocated them from center stage to the margins. The Yetzer Hara, evil inclination, remains internal. Responsibility remains human. That's the through line. If you want to go even further, we can examine the connection between Dibuk stories and the 1648 to 49 massacres, whether possession theology increased after collective trauma, or whether Mashiach-era prophecy would eliminate Dibuk entirely. Where are we heading next?
Is use of drugs kosher? Like, is cocaine kosher? There's nothing inherently unkosher about it. What about LSD? What about DMT? That kind of stuff.
Also said that another tremendous school of Hanossa could be told off after rational distinction. So that is a tremendous school of Hanossa. So again, obviously, sometimes that gets in the way of the right? Sometimes, again, a person, again, it's have to happen down the road. We don't want to.
What happens to a soul if the family thinks that it was righteous, but it was not, and they only daven for or say Kaddish for 11 months when it really should be 12?
I don't exactly know what the correlation is, but everyone says it's one of the biggest. So again, righteous at the donors, keeping the Torah until the end of davening, and of course, but again, I will say, but to be clear, nothing ever replaces hardware. That is the key. The key return is ultimately again, we try to say Mishnaya, we want to success. Anyway, Gemara says as follows. Sakomes, Hamavona, Uminchas Kohen. Uminchas Kohen. That's the mincha offered up by a Kohen. Uminchas Kohen Mashiach. This is the mincha of the Kohen Bible. Minchas means sopping. So ultimately again, a mincha, right? Mincha that accompanies the common. All of these, Shinigir, Me'achas, Loki, guys, but what's time. So we'll say, it's not that common. Again, remember, lest you think that Halacha L'Maisa, that the prohibition of offering up Kabbalah outside the base of the fish only applies to animal offerings. So the Gemara says,
this is a very real pastoral question. Let's walk through it carefully and calmly. First, terminology: Kaddish, Kaddish, ruler's prayer; Gehinnom, purgative, afterlife state; Din, judgment; Teshuvah, the 12-month framework. The Talmud in Babylonian Talmud, Rosh Hashanah states the maximum judgment period in Gehinnom is 12 months. Most souls are judged for less time. Because of this, Ashkenazic custom developed. We say Kaddish for 11 months, not 12. Why? Out of kavod, called honor. Saying it for 12 months implies my parent was fully wicked, so we stop at 11 to avoid that implication. What if the person actually needed 12 months? Important principle. Kaddish does not mechanically control the length of judgment. It helps, it elevates, it brings merit. But it is not a stopwatch. The soul's purification process is determined by the person's life, divine justice, divine mercy, not by the family's calendar math. Does stopping at 11 months hurt the soul? No. Here's why. A, 12 months is a maximum. The Gemara says up to 12 months. It does not say every wicked person requires the full 12. Divine judgment is individualized. B, merit continues beyond Kaddish. The soul benefits from Torah learning done in their merit, tzedakah, charity, mitzvah performed in their name, children living righteously. Kaddish is powerful, but it is not the only mechanism. C, divine mercy exceeds human calculation. Judaism does not teach a bureaucratic afterlife. God is not waiting for you to miscalculate by 30 days. If the soul requires further purification, that process unfolds under divine supervision, not dependent on whether a sun stopped on day 334. What is Kaddish actually doing? Kaddish does not mention death. It magnifies God's name. When a mourner says Kaddish, they publicly affirm faith during grief. That creates merit for the soul, but the metaphysics are not. Kaddish equals 1 month less in Gehinnom. That's a simplification that developed in folk teaching. According to Kabbalah, in Lurianic teaching, see Isaac Luria, the soul's rectification is highly individualized. Some souls do not go to Gehinnom at all, experience momentary purification, undergo other forms of tikkun rectification. So, the 11-month custom is a minhag custom, not a metaphysical switch. Pastoral bottom line. If a family mistakenly stopped at 11 months, nothing catastrophic happens. If they later worry, they can learn Mishnah, oral law text, in the person's merit. Give charity. Add extra Kaddish on a yahrzeit, death anniversary. Increase mitzvah in their name. Merit is not time-locked. The deeper theological point, Judaism's afterlife model is not punitive eternal damnation. Gehinnom is corrective, not eternal. The soul is refined, not abandoned. So the system is not fragile. It does not collapse over a missed 30 days. If you want, we can go deeper into what actually happens during those 12 months spiritually, whether non-Jews experience Gehinnom, whether someone truly wicked can exceed 12 months, or whether children are halachically obligated to say Kaddish at all. My content will say it's in the intermediate wide lines of Rashi, third, fourth volume. My content the Yotzi de Chavasan, the Isaias Hadin Haftarah. So this is very interesting. Watch this. We're going to see.
The minimum amount of picolos that has to be offered is a kizaris, right? And that's why, by the way, all these concepts are included. That's why. How much picolos do you have to throw outside of the base of English in order to be viable? A kizaris. But the more thing is like this: if you burn less than the required shear, let's say the Kohen burned less than the required shear, right? And then the stipulated shear for picolos. But he burned at least a kizaris of picolos in the base of English. You don't say. You don't say. Or if you have to do any more. So a Kohen.
Beautiful. Let's go deeper and cleanly. We'll address what actually happens during the 12 months. Can someone exceed 12 months? Do non-Jews experience Gehinnom, purgative afterlife state? Are children halakhically beautiful? Let's go deeper and cleanly. We'll address what actually happens during the 12 months. Can someone exceed 12? Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's go deeper and cleanly. We'll address what actually happens during the 12 months. Can someone exceed 12 months? Do non-Jews experience Gehinnom, purgative after state? Are children halakhically to say Kaddish, mourner's prayer? What happens during the 12 months? The 12-month idea comes from Babylonian Talmud, Rosh Hashanah 17a. But what is Gehinnom? In mainstream rabbinic thought, it is not eternal hell. It is purification. It is spiritual cleansing. Think refinement, not torture. Rambam's view, Maimonides describes the afterlife more intellectually. The soul experiences consequence through awareness. Suffering is distance from divine truth. Reward is intellectual closeness to God. Less fire imagery, more existential exposure. Kabbalistic view. In the teachings of Isaac Luria, the soul sheds spiritual residue, kalipot, husks. Each layer corresponds to aspects of misalignment. It's a stripping away of distortion, not punishment for punishment's sake. Can someone exceed 12 months? The Talmud says the judgment of the wicked in Gehinnom is 12 months. Interpretations differ. Some Rishonim, medieval authorities, understand truly wicked individuals may be annihilated spiritually. Some may lose their share in the world to come. But eternal torment is not a central Jewish doctrine. In most classical rabbinic views, 12 months is the maximum purification period, not a minimum, not an automatic. So exceeding it is not normative theology. Do non-Jews experience Gehinnom? Short answer, yes, but differently framed. Judaism teaches all humans are judged. The standard for non-Jews is the 7 Noahide laws, Sheba Mitzvot B'nai Nach. A righteous non-Jew, Chassidim Olam, righteous among the nations, has a share in the world to come. This is explicitly stated in the Mishnah. The afterlife is not ethnically exclusive, but covenantal responsibility differs, so purification corresponds to one's obligations. Are children obligated to say Kaddish? Halakhically, no direct Torah obligation. Kaddish became a strong minhag, custom in medieval Ashkenaz. It is a powerful merit mechanism. But a daughter can arrange Kaddish. A relative can say it. A hired Torah scholar can say it. One can sponsor learning instead. The soul's elevation is not dependent on one specific child reciting words. It is about merit generated. Important recalibration. The popular image, Kaddish reduces Gehinnom by 1 month. That is over. Simplified folklore. The classical sources do not see context, intention, teshuva done in life. The deep cutting truth. Jewish theology does not describe a fragile afterlife system. It is not, oops, you stopped Kaddish 28 days early, now disaster. God's justice is not bureaucratic. It is intelligent and merciful. If you want to go further, we can explore what happens immediately after death according to Talmud versus Kabbalah. Whether cremation affects the soul, whether suicide changes Gehinnom duration, or whether Mashiach eliminates Gehinnom entirely. Where are we going next?
The Machlokes is ultimately again is that exclusive shear or not? That's the Machlokes. So the clarification application of mission actually can read more myself. Right, Kevin, you have a great day, everyone.
Smiling and living the lifestyle you want. And for a limited time, Lasting Smiles is offering a special opportunity to share this innovation with more people. You can receive 50%
Perfect.
off.
Let's Let's go even deeper. We'll focus on what happens immediately after death, Talmudic versus Kabbalistic views, effect of cremation on the soul, effect of suicide on Gehinnom, the afterlife, Mashiach era implications for Gehinnom immediately after death, Talmudic view, the Talmud, Babylonian Talmudistic view, Lurianic. From Isaac Luria via Chaim Vital, the soul undergoes spiritual scanning. 1. Strips off physical attachments. 2. Reviews unresolved sins. 3. Confronts husks clinging to it. 4. Enters temporary purification in Gehenna if needed. 5. Eventually ascends to Gan Eden once rectified. Souls may reincarnate. If the tikkun is incomplete, the process is gradual, cosmic, and morally meaningful. Cremation and the soul. Halakhically, cremation is strongly discouraged. Torah emphasizes burial. Dome 21:23, Genesis 23:19. Mishnah and Talmud equate burial with respect for the body as God's vessel. Effect on the soul. Kabbalah teaches the soul is temporarily attached to the body for rectification. Burning the body disrupts this connection, potentially prolongs the soul's purification. Halacha, burial is not cosmetic, it's spiritual. Practical consequence. Cremation doesn't destroy the soul, but it may make tikkun slow or painful. Suicide and Gehinnom, Talmudic and later sources differentiate. Suicide is a grave sin due to self-harm or ambition. Some may require extended rectification in Gehinnom. Kabbalah, the soul still has divine spark. Complete annihilation is rare. Family mourning, they still say Kaddish and perform mitzvot. Spiritual elevation remains possible.
What's up, dude? I'll be with you in 2 minutes. So just stay here.
Judgment. Prevent stigmatization. Encourage prayers, charity, Torah learning for merit. So suicide complicates purification but does not eternally condemn the soul. Mashiach era implications. Classical sources suggest, in the Messianic era, divine justice is perfected. Many eschatological texts, Zohar Talmud, imply Gehinnom is shortened or eliminated. Souls achieve final tikkun more swiftly. Resurrection, Tehiyat Hamatim, Tehiyat Matim, reconciles unfinished rectifications. Thus, temporary suffering serves a cosmic purpose, not permanent punishment. Ethical implication. Current mourning customs, Kaddish, charity, Torah study, contribute to this rectification and accelerate the soul's ultimate elevation. Key takeaways. 1. Death triggers immediate divine judgment, proportionate and corrective. 2. Burial is spiritually significant. Cremation disrupts, but does not destroy the soul. 3. Suicide complicates purification, but the soul still retains potential for rectification. In Mashiach's era, all souls
Dude,
complete
you stupid
and
douche.
Gehinnom ceases to be relevant. If you want, we can go even further into the intermediate world, Olam Hagashmi, Olam Haruach, physical versus spiritual world. How different types of sin influence the soul's purification path, the mystical stages of Gehinnom in the Zohar. Which one should we dive into?